Good evening, everyone. Respected National President, sir. Respected Moderator Ramesh, sir. Today's speaker, Srinivasan, sir. Technical consultant, Rakesh, sir, and all the panelists and all the participants. You welcome you all. It's my hearty pleasure to introduce today's speaker before you. He is a trainer in business strategy and organization development. He has an experience of more than 22 years in consulting for banking. He deals in financial service and insurance sector, telecom and retail. He handles assignments and training regarding to financial planning and fund management, organization design and structure, monitoring and staffing solution. He is JCI designer from JCI University and national trainer. He has a part of zone and national level program and leadership program like Jaila, Beta, Tycoon, Able, Profit, SYPS, and in addition to lab. He is master in business administration and bachelor in electronics. He shares his passion on providing solutions and implementing them through Tycoon Consulting Group. He is offering program on money management, financial planning, and taxation for individual for STEAM. Running Tycoon Academy of Career Excellence and RBI certified training organization, providing certification course to bank in addition on to generic training in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Kerala through network of 9 centers. His client including ICCI, Coron Bank, HDFC Bank, City Bank, Union Bank, ABN AMRO, BSNL, and Bharti Airtel, and list is goes on. My dear friends, I am presenting a person who is a solution of all financial issues, the financial guru, as a today's speaker, Srinivasan R. Sir. Sir, floor is yours, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you and good evening. Please do not tell that he is a solution for all the financial problems, lest people will start asking for a loan. Sorry guys, that is something I will not be able to do, but I can tell, like, in case you have a loan, how to do it. So thanks a lot for that introduction. I would want to start off with a note of gratitude, especially to late Mahesh Bhagwandas sir, who after arranging an interview for Cosmo Voice, our chapter bulletin with then Finance Minister Manmohan Singh, and having looked into the transcript, took into his wings to mentor and train me, and that is how we started and what we have today at Tricon and People Point. Business person par excellence, thought leader ahead of his times, a go-getter in action. It's actually a great loss, not only for JC training fraternity, but his loved family and the humanity. Mahesh sir, if it is not for you, I'm not here. Definitely, I want to thank Ramesh sir for all the guidance and orientation. And I do not know when Ramesh sir does introductions, being his first able and how he came with Mukhinder Singh sir introducing to able. I would also want him to recollect that during that first able, you had one confused gentleman trying to find out what exactly is happening, and people emptying their quiver of arrows on this poor guy who's still trying to understand what is happening and never knew that he is part of a big history. And that was your truly me as a host president of First Table. From there, it has been a great journey. I want to thank Panchanathan sir, who my initial stages shaped me up as a trainer, PG Rajan from a zone. But for him, I would not dare speaking to in public, forget about training. And definitely Ramesh sir for giving opportunities right from Ooty able to do small sessions and landing up as a trainer of the whole faculty team last year. KV Ratnam sir, I owe quite a lot. I adore you for the granularity and the nuances in training. You awed me with a 2-page note after that session I did in Profit for Ableites. The list goes on, but two other contemporaries whom I want to thank are Nazar and Gopi. Special thanks to Nazar, who helped me out in my initial days with so much of insights after every session on stage management, a person who taught me how context is equally important as content. I think 70-80 sessions with Nazar at all forums and conversations we have when we travel together from theology to science, politics to spirituality. I will treasure them all. Thanks so much for being what I am to what I'm doing. Now, I would, for the session. I'll start with sharing my screen. Yeah, here it goes. So, the whole idea is the screen is on. I think someone has to mute the mic. Yeah. So, like the first word, I think quite a lot has been spoken, and today I thought I will talk about the next word, which is essentially like what we need to do. How do we power our business in these times of uncertainty? So, let me get my screen. Yeah, thank you. So, I will tell the perspective in which we are coming. In fact, after coming as a, say, 11th or 12th speaker, after a galaxy of established speakers talk on this particular subject, I was perplexed what to share. And thanks to Nazarji, Ramesh, Shelly sir, all that, who asked me to just go ahead with my perspective. And so here you are. So we have always used to hear this story, right? A half-filled glass. And what would optimist say? It is half filled. And the pessimist says it is half empty. But there is also another dimension. What a realist says. What would he say? He would not tell anything. He will just go ahead and drink a bottle, that half glass, and keep moving. So I'm coming from that realist view, but I also want to give a disclaimer that whatever I'm going to share here are from my perspective of things. It could be contrarian, and it is also evolving. So possibly what I tell is not for eternity. And as things come, as I become a little wiser, I am sure that I would add and evolve. So with that little disclaimer, let us get into like what my perspective of this whole episode of geopolitical economic situations. So right from the virus to what can be done, the corona, here we go. This is a lovely pic which I picked up, telling like if you can't go outside, it was go inside, and I would add it to your business. Let us have a small quick view into our business. And this is something which is also I found very, very interesting. If you do not come out of this lockdown with either a new skill, a more knowledge, or at least, not at least, importantly, better health and fitness, it is a real wake-up call to indicate you never lacked the time, but what we lacked was the discipline. So how do I see the uncertainty panning out? I see it as 4 elements. One, people are scared about what would happen to business. The second element, what people are very scared about, is your financial fund flow. Third is, how long would it take? The duration, like today we know in Tamil Nadu it is going to be extended for 15 days. So I generally feel all the states will follow, but we really do not know whether it's going to end there. And fourth is the environment. The environment which we were very easily accessing, the offices, the schools, the hotels, restaurants, the eat-outs, the hangouts, suddenly have become a point of concern. But however, duration and environment are a variable which is not in anyone's control. So they are external in nature. I'm not going to dwell about them, but I would definitely talk about what could possibly happen for our business, our clients, and the financial management, what we should do, and the future fund flow. So my essentially my thoughts are going to be confined towards these internal parameters. So let me start with what could possibly happen to business and clients. And I believe we are on a huge information overload. There is so much of data available, right from internet, TV, blogs, speakers, and more so on such Zoom calls. Each people giving a perspective, and I thought I would share mine also here, which is shared by Deutsche Bank, prepared by Moody's on COVID heat map, which says which are the businesses which will be highly affected, high exposure, medium affected, the moderate, low exposure, and which would have potentially a positive impact. Now, this data is available on the net. Nothing great about to tell. But as I thought over it, as I was just concerned about my business as much as you are concerned about yours and the whole ecosystem, I understood these are all on the first two things which I mentioned: economic, the global economic, national economic, regional, and the industry. But what we need to understand is about the business. Incidentally, I understand what happens to the industry, what happens to the economy need not necessarily positively correlate to business. Very simply putting it, an example, I think apparel is there, automobile is there. So they say these two will be on a low key. But I feel certain industries can be good for your business, and we'll see as we go how it could be. So all what you see on the net and on the social public domain are things which are economic, industry oriented. I'm planning to dwell my perspective on what could be happening to your business and how these translate into a kind of an opportunities. So coming back to our business, and the one little thing what we are worried about is the turnover of business, whether we are going to get client. And I thought this, I'm planning to share it on a 24-month perspective, starting from considering, say, March or April, the new fiscal, to possibly a 2-year kind of a domain, how possibly this could really pan out. So I would tell, like, depending on the product, even if you're on a travel industry, even if you're on an apparel industry, I feel essentially that not everyone are selling the same product or offering the same service. So my feel is, if you're into this essential category of product or services, I feel the contraction would be temporary, meaning the reduction in demand would be temporary. In case you are going for an aspirational kind of an offering, then people would still buy, but they would look for an economical alternative. And third, if you're on inspirational, which essentially they call as a luxury item, then I feel people will definitely postpone. But one interesting piece is there is always something called as a pent-up demand, a demand which gets built up, and eventually you will be able to get used of it. So I'll just possibly give it with a kind of an example. Let me see. Yeah. So you just take a case of a grocery. Essentials are what? Grains, pulses, cereals. This you're definitely going to buy. I don't think you would stop buying because you're having a virus going around. But there is an alternative. See, for instance, you are possibly, for a person who has budgeted, would not buy as much basmati rice. Or possibly you're buying a basmati rice for 250 rupees a kg. You would just wonder, work on your shelf and see like whether you have a less pricey alternative. So this is something like for a little alternative kind of a product. Now, inspirational, even on a department store or a mall, I see people going for, so surprising, interesting. I found one person asking for an imported Coke. I said, boss, why are you paying through your nose for a can of Coke which is available here in India? He said, no, that has a higher purity and higher standards of in terms of pesticides, things like that. And this guy was buying only an imported Coke, else he doesn't drink an Indian Coke. Out of season fruits, imported fruits, cereals which get imported, oils which get imported, cooking oils to all other oils. These are things which I think people would, we can live without them. And when people start thinking like, it's okay, I have money still, even people who have money would start wondering like, okay, do I need to really spend? Or So we will take another example, possibly of consumer automobiles. I'm not talking about the industry automobiles. So talk about an essential again. It is your daily commute, a city car. In fact, I feel there could be a spike because considering the current social distancing norm, you would need a vehicle to transport yourself. So there could be an initial spike in demand. I would not be surprised. And please understand this, we are talking about not the industry, not the economics, but something which can you and I can relate to. No, alternative products. Say for instance, if I want a SUV for the weekend, uh, possibly a Innova for 22, 24, 25 lakhs. I may not go for a new one. I could go for a refurbished one, a second-hand car. So that is where the alternative kicks in. Inspirational cars, where a brand which I need to show to the society that I have arrived, a Merc, a Audi, those I think I would wait. But one beauty about a Merc and Audi is people are not going to settle for anything less. People would 101% wait. When this economy turns positive, they are going to come and buy a Merc and Audi. So a number of Merc and Audi aspirants would definitely remain the same, but only thing, possibly it will take some more time for these purchases to really translate into reality. So this is what I understand, like how we need to see our business. Next comes about the whole consumer behavior. So what do you do? Like if it is an essential, anyway, this customer is going to come during the period of lockdown, please be reminding the customers about your service, else he may forget you. For aspirational products, see like whether you can offer alternatives to the usual consumptions and keep informing those customers about what you have in offering. Tell like previously you were doing this at this price points, possibly we have basmati rice at these price points as well. Third is this inspirational products. People are not going to buy for some more time. Stay connected. Please become a kind of a top of mind recall so that once they decide buying and we do not know when, they come to you. Also, I also wanted to share something what I feel. It is not this linear as what it has come up in graph, just to typically give a visual view of what I feel about the demand dynamics. If it is an essential product, it is on a time scale and a demand scale, I feel by and large, nothing much is going to change. Essential would continue to be consumed. Possibly there could be a little reduction, a little spike, but a law of averages, if you're going to talk over a two-year period, which I mentioned on the initial slide, I think it is going to be business as usual. There aspirationals are going to take some time, and so would be the demand. And fourth is inspiration product. They have to definitely, it's a wait and watch game, but you will get sufficiently compensated. Eventually at end, please understand all these points are same in size. So eventually these demands will pick up at some point of time, and that is what I feel. So that is about in terms of the buying behavior. And next we would move into terms of something which more people are scared of, is the financial and fund flow. And this is something a friend of mine was mentioning. He's in a little town called Palladam, a 1 hour drive from Coimbatore. Compared to Coimbatore itself is not a great big city. It is just a developing city. It's a city smaller than that. And this is what he told. This 15, 20 days of lockdown made me understand very, very significant life lesson. Actual cost of living is very, very less. And it is cost of living like your neighbor, which is costly. A great, important, significant wake-up call for us to know that we were spending quite a bit on items which need not be purchased at all. And that is where today we should walk in with this wisdom of telling like, it is not about having money. It is about giving that value for the money. And today that is something which is important. And in that dimension of money, I thought I will talk to you on 3 elements. One, something which all are concerned about, the loans, the resources, receivables. So we'll talk about these 3 in terms of a financial dimension. So I would recommend you to do this audit, get alerted, get into action. Auditors, okay, collecting relevant information. Shailisher had done quite an exhaustive, comprehensive, I would tell, detailing of how you do an audit, and there was a 21-day audit as well. So I would not dwell upon much on audit. But once you get this data, the whole idea is about how alert you get into those analysis and what action you're going to take. If these 21 days, if you're going to perpetually keep seeing unending stream of Zoom calls, everyone talking, and if you feel something is going to change in your office when things open up, I'm sorry. So it is about this action, which is going to be a hypercritical stuff. And let us move into loans first. And a question which the whole India wants to know is, what is this whole stuff about a moratorium? Government has given moratorium. People are telling, should I go? Should I not go? So here is some calculations for you. I have rounded off for a larger understanding. So should we take a moratorium or not? So here it goes. I thought I would align it with a kind of an outstanding term. Say, for instance, if you have a 10-year loan and you have 3 years outstanding or 36 months, and or a new loan, and you are going to take a 3-month moratorium. And so if you're going to take a 3-month moratorium, please be clear, there is no interest waiver. There is no principal waiver. All these two are due and accruing on your account, and you get to pay the interest for 3 EMIs which you are not paid. So what happens, and this is something very, very important which you need to make note, 36 months, just by pushing it 3 months delayed, you are not going to pay 36 months, but you are going to pay 37 duration. You are going to pay 1 EMI more. If it is 10,000 and you are going to pay 3 months, not going to pay, and you continue to pay, then you're going to pay 1 more EMI. And please see like whether you want to really take it up. If it is a 5-year loan, it is 2 years, 10-year loan, 5 EMIs. I'm sorry, beg your pardon. And if it is a 15-year loan, you are going to pay 8 more EMIs. And if it are going to be a 20-year, typically a housing loan, you would be paying 15 more months, which is approximately a 1.25 year more. So be aware about this moratorium mirage. Please, my request is, if you can pay, my recommendation is to please go ahead and pay. Do not delay your payments. Even if you have taken a moratorium, a bank can't tell no to the payments you make. You go ahead and make a payment. That is my strong recommendation in case you have funds. So if you still don't have money, my recommendation is to part pay, or eventually you take the moratorium, which is your rescheduling. But there is one lovely sweetener, which is you can lower the interest. Now there is a scenario where good repayers are going to get lesser interests. That is going to be a sweet spot, which I showed in the blue. That is something we'll talk during the session, or possibly we'll pick it up during Q&A. In case you have the money, so that don't have, then you part pay or reschedule. If you have, kindly pay every month, and still you have some money, save. And please just don't keep saving, because your inflation eats it out. Stay invested the way you want. This becomes very important. The blue one, credit, according to my assessment, is going to become cheap, but banks are going to become choosy. Money is not going to be freely available, but it will be available at a lesser cost. Previously, it was pricey, but easily available. You can just walk into a mobile store. You will have 10 people. You just give an Aadhaar card and walk out with a 40,000 rupee mobile. I think possibly those are not going to be there. The data points are indicating that there is a huge EMI challenge happening. One of the biggest NBFCs are having 3.6 lakh customers who missed the payment the month of March. So please be aware of it. So my suggestions, say no to moratorium. Continue to pay your dues. Number two, if difficult, look for a reserve, possibly extra jewelry at home, additional savings. And ironically, I also see a lot of entrepreneurs taking a loan and keeping a fixed deposit also in the same bank. Doesn't absolutely make sense. Close all your fixed deposit in case you have a loan and have them cleared. More so, ask your wife, because all statistics go and prove that recent demonetization, the lady of house had more cash to be converted rather than the guy who was running the business. The Grahalakshmi always had a habit of conserving money. And if you want to know, like some people tell, like, why is that you are never prepared for eventuality, a kind of a close down, a lockdown? Possibly you never had a women of your house working in your business, else you would definitely take care. So that is about that. Fourth, in case if you're not able to have the bills paid and you have only a small chunk of money, I would ask you to go ahead and clear off the bills in this order. Credit card bills would be your first priority. And my strong recommendation is no minimum amount due. You pay them full and final. Once you're done with it, get ahead with personal loans. Third would be your working capital loans, term loans and housing loan. The logic being the credit card loans being the highest in terms of the interest rates. Next, once that being done, work on a business plan. Even now during this period of lockdown, banks are working. I would recommend, in case if you have been a proper repayer of EMIs, to go ahead and ask bank for a reduction in loan. I'll tell you today, banks need to deploy money, but they also want good clientele. Else, I would ask you to do not hesitate to switch your bank. The next final thing, work on a financial plan. Prepare for a worst 6 months. 6 months of money need to get organized. It is not that today, but you need to have a larger view of the 6 months. Let us prepare for the worst and look forward to the best. And that, I would tell, would detox your financial health. I know it is definitely not simple. In case there are queries, we will take it up during the course of the day. But this would be the essential. This is how you would definitely need to move. 80 to 90% of people, this would be a kind of a thumb rule which I would recommend you to follow. So that is done with the loans. We will get into the next piece, which is receivables. Many of times, say something like, I just made a general thing which I just picked up from the net. We always had been with customers who were giving us more business. Now we need to shift to people who give the money fast. Forget about the volume. Today it is going to be profit. Apply your Pareto principle, your 80-20 rule. All of us know, you would have gone through a lot of study. Very simple telling. Who's the customer contributing? I think you should start focusing on him. Now, that being told, you need to understand there's going to be a huge demand contraction. That is why I want you to select customers. Select customers who would pay you on cash. Money in circulation is going to be reduced because people are going to be scared losing out their purses. People who have money are not going to release it soon, and people who want money are not going to get it easy. Third is about the buyer behavior. It is going to change, and I'll tell you, this change is something what we saw in the initial slide, and this would also ask for a different kind of a funding process innovation, and each one can do a bit of it, just being little aware. And we come to the last part, which are the resources. These are my recommendations in the 4 elements of what I would see as a financial resource audit. First and foremost is your working capital loans. I don't want to get into your term loans for time being. Your working capital loan, people have I would tell from whatever I have met, discussed, essentially SMEs and MSMEs have more abused working capital limits rather than used working capital limits. Moment the working capital is given, you feel that's a free money and you go around spending, more so not for business and to really for a lot of your luxury needs, and that is where you get caught. And any working capital limit which is 100% utilized at any given point of time without reduction is a amber signal to tell that there is something wrong. Your working capital is a limit. It has to keep coming up. Money should be keep coming in, going, and you can't use that working capital as a term loan. Many people do, and the most efficient way on a periodic average, you should definitely have only 80% utilized. That is something I would strongly recommend. We'll see something on working capital. I have 2-3 pointers to help you out. Second is about this salary and staff, and this is something which has been a big concern because ordinary MSME, SME kind of an organization has a wage bill anywhere between 20 to 40%, and these, if are not properly utilized, it is going to have a big blow on your bottom line. So it is essential. Having said that, I also strongly believe it is this people on whom you built your enterprise. You can't do everything all on your own. People are very critical, teams are very critical, and their contribution is critical. If today we have challenge of working capital, we have challenge of finance, please understand that they would have a larger challenge. I'm not talking about a utopian situation telling like go ahead and pay their salaries, but please take a consensus. Please do not throw anyone off just because things are not looking fine. Please sit with them, get into a kind of a dialogue, see whether you can collaboratively work something. I'm sure they being a part of your team, they being part of your business, they being part of your growth story would have definitely a better idea many a times than what you have. And mind you, this is something not what they are not aware of. And this time, if you have your people with you, I believe being a staffing company, we are 23-year-old into staffing services. We give staffs on a contractual basis, right from your front office, support teams, back office, sales, marketing. And I know the kind of pressure we had in terms of attrition. And today, if you're going to show the best side, I would tell on a longer period of time, your attrition is going to come down substantially. Wage bill is going to be high. I would recommend a 20% reduction in terms of a dialogue, in terms of more reorganizing your staff structure so that this becomes mutually convenient. No one leaves with a bad taste. In fact, I still remember I got a reference from a Titan group of companies for staffing service. I had actually wanted this particular client, and I had asked for reference of 2 people who are their vendors, very senior vendors. And once I got a call, I just went, I told that I'm sure that these are the 2 friends who would have definitely referred me. He said, no, these 2 guys never even took your name. I was shell-shocked. I said, then who did tell? Then he gave a name. And honestly, I never remembered this name. I said, I would want to meet this gentleman who recommended us. Because I don't remember him, I wanted to also thank him. And after getting all the formalities done, I just met him. I said, sir, in fact, even after meeting him, I couldn't place him. I said, sir, and he walked up to me, wished me, and he said, sir, do you remember me? And I said, sorry, sir, I don't remember. He said, I came for an interview for your office. And you rejected me so very well. You gave my view. You told like why I would not be eligible to work in your company. I was pretty impressed. I know like I was desperate for the job, but the way you put it across, it meant so much. Then I thought when I got an opportunity to work for Titan, I should definitely recommend your name. So this is what the warmth which you can take to people could do magic. Third is asserts. We as Indians are heavily driven towards assets, especially real assets. real estate. Everyone feel like we should own a piece of land. Though I know we are just temporary occupants of this Mother Earth. I would only recommend keep holding this. I know this is something a very emotional quotient. I can't keep talking about it, not to have, but see whether it is utility driven. And the last component of production, people who are into manufacturing, see about options of efficiency. You would be always seeing, I'm sure, but have much more concentrated focus on efficiency and look into opportunities today to outsource. One of the clients whom I had a discussion, he is a big brand, very well established pump manufacturer of the city. And you know, Coimbatore is well known for pumps. And he said they went on a kind of a cost cutting drive, because you know, like it is not only this particular current pandemic which is actually slowing down our business. The business had slowed down quite early, and all of us are aware of it. So I had a meeting somewhere in December, and he said we reduced, and suddenly we thought like, why instead of just only tinkering with our internal cost, why don't we go around and try to outsource? And he said, to our surprise, we could find pump manufacturers in Punjab who could give us these pumps with the same quality standards at a price point you would not believe, much below the raw material cost. And I was shocked. And he said, today, most of our production doesn't happen here. It's outsourced, and we just relabel them. I'm not telling like these are opportunities which will happen every day, but I'm saying nevertheless, this is the time to explore. Next is about working capital, which I said this is something very critical. I just thought I'll just share an example each. Is this utility of this working capital? I know about this one bullion dealer. He amazed me. Another friend of mine, a client of mine, he had a 30 crore limit, and 30 crore limit for a bullion dealer working capital is very common. And he had this at a 12% interest. So possibly on an annualized basis, 12% is how much? 3.5 crores. Many people have such loans, and this they use it to buy bullion, the gold bars, sell it, and put back the money. So it is just very common that this particular cycle, this is the fastest, okay? And that is why I want to tell, because we operate on working capital cycles like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and this is the shortest, which at least I can bring an example for us to really understand how much this impact it can create. This bullion dealer had a 30 crore limit. Many people have 30, even 100 crore limits, and they factor this 12% cost into this bullion because it is just one day. You get this bullion today, sell this bullion, and also take this money and pay it in a day or two. But he came up with a different model. He said, why pay 2 days interest? I will reduce by 1. And at one interesting moment, he said, why at all I need to pay? I said, come on, you're going to utilize the money? Yes. But he said, I can utilize this without spending money. And you know, like what he came up with, he told like whoever wants this gold bar need to pay me in advance, and I'm ready to give you a good price, which the whole business, the local business would not give. And we are talking about 0.0102 percentages. And this person gave a marginal decrease, and people were ready to pay this money in advance, 1 day in advance. Now, this would happen during the course of the day. By afternoon, evening, he would get this money coming in. But this gold bars would need to be available so that it would be given and this cash would be collected. So it is cash and carry. So he used to deposit this 30 crores, get this bullion from, say, the bullion houses, especially Scotia Mokoto, you know, like one of the biggest bullion warehouses of the world. So they used to come deliver this 30 crores of bullion bars by afternoon, and he would collect the money, pay this, and this was the most efficient kind of a model he used to run. By evening, he has all the money, and this whole 30 crores gets back to the bank by the evening. So he has taken this 30 crores in the morning, he has 30 crores back in the bank by evening, and how much does he owe the bank when the bank closes? And mind you, bank working capital interest is charged on a day end basis. 30 crores back. He has taken 30 crores in the morning, evening, and he didn't pay a single rupee on interest, but he utilized 30 crores. 30 crores into 12 percentage is 3.6 crores of additional saving by just tweaking a bit of how intelligently you can manage your working capital. If he could do it, I think we could. And that, I would tell, is our Indian jugaad, right? Forget about all the big yarns, but this is something like a person did, and he amazed me by his ingenuity. And it is about by having a conscious importance about why this is important. He could have just given one day, take the gold bar, collected money, given the next day. Nothing is going to happen. But he tweaked this 3.5 crores. And you know what he got? He gifted himself a villa for this 3.5 crores, which is possibly today 6 crores, by just doing this. Next, credit card, bad word, I would tell no. I would not dwell in detail, but if you use credit card and pay within the payment cycle, I would tell that is the only instrument which you will give 100% interest-free credit. Why shouldn't we use it? Please think. It's a beautiful opportunity. Third, many people keep asking me, I want definitely to start another business, another line of business. I recommend you stay put with your line. That is where your competence is. Nevertheless, but still, if you want, look out for business with negative cash, working capital, negative working capital business models. That is, you buy on credit, sell on cash. You would ask me, are there any like that? There are. Restaurants, all the grocery, all the supply, everything which is a working capital comes on credit, and you sell on cash. If you get the equation right, then honestly, to run the business, you get more money coming in. So these are things which can really beautifully happen in an opportunity in terms of the business today. And to add on, in spite of what people tell, there are some mega positives which I call for an Indian landscape. Let us appreciate them. First, we are not dependent on other people for a consumption. We have a domestic demand, a consumption of our populace, the biggest, the largest population. So our market is next door, just behind us, front ahead of us. So this is available. You need not run for market, and this market is not going to evaporate. It is going to reduce. It is going to be shrunk. It is going to be challenged, but this market is there. Second, we have this demographic dividend. I think that the data what I saw was 2015. It was the average age of an Indian population is around 25. Considering that we didn't just back of envelope calculation, even would have touched 28 to 29, we have the most earning population. So please understand, this money is definitely going to come. It is not like other senior economies where they are not earning. So these guys are earning. Possibly they will be out of the job. Today people tell all workers went back to their place, and we'll get a kind of glut in the demand of people. Definitely no. Because you're going to get people, and these people need the jobs. They would come back. It's going to take time. That is what I'm asking you to get. So we are going to have a demographic dividend. Third, we have been amazing adapters. I'll tell you, no one else like Indians could just adapt. Very simple as a kind of successive invasions and foreign rules and culture. Today, Ola or no Ola, we adapt. And I have a lot of friends who are into all these startups, big so-called disruptors. All the money which is being spent, your Swiggies, your Olas, your Oyas, are to change our behavior. And mind you, Indian mind is so adaptable that they need to spend so much. Today, Ola gives you a discount, and you find it is cheaper than taking a car. You would definitely switch. And if it is going to be costly, you will never ever go to Ola. In fact, a friend of mine, a chartered accountant called Devraj, in fact, he was mentioning, sir, somehow it is only India, they have Ola and Uber. They have Swiggy and who else you have? Okay, all these food delivery apps. Because before you order the food, you also check where it is cheapest. He says all over the Europe, all over in developed countries, people get fixed to a particular application. Possibly they go for a lift, or possibly they stay with your Uber, and they are stuck with it. But here we are adaptable, okay? And this amazing adaptability, this little cost conscious, I know definitely not good. Like if you are going to be a consumer, if you are trying to pitch in something in an Indian landscape, to satisfy an Indian consumer, it is very, very difficult. If you give a dosa cheap in your favorite restaurant today, and tomorrow is going to give it, someone else is going to give it cheaper, he will switch. And third, if these two guys are not going to give cheaper and they are going to charge you a kind of a delivery charge, and you see, make a quick math and understand, going to the restaurant and picking up yourself would be cheaper, you would not hesitate doing it. So this is something which I found very, very interesting about the kind of this particular trait will also make us very adaptable. For us, we would accept and handle anything. Excuse me. And unlike other countries, we have a huge customer segment. I think it is possibly only our country where we have a lower class, lower class, lower middle class, lower upper class, lower middle class, the whole stuff. Meaning all products have a market here, and that is the beauty. This is all about the appreciation what I would want. And certain things I feel, these are things which I see we should have a faith on. First, so much is being spoken about this Indian immunity, because we are exposed to pollution much more than other people. So our immunity system is definitely more evolved, if I can use that word. I don't know whether pathologists would accept to this word, but we have a better immunity system. So I pray and wish, let us have a very strong faith. Whatever effect this virus has, I pray, has a lesser impact here. We have more happy lives after this. Second, they talk about this virus as a variant. What is there in China is not here, pathologically proved. This is very little different, and this is also mutating. You would understand this is a kind of a variant of what we talk of Coron, and the variant what currently we are handling is COVID-19. You have SARS, MARS, and other things, and all these are variants. There are 7, and I appreciate you would know that 4 are not harmful, not contagious, and 3 are, and this is the last one. So this possibly would flatten the curve, which all are talking about in a technical term. And if you're looking even into the yesterday data point, if you're talking about the whole extrapolation of the number of cases on the time scale, we are somewhere in the middle. We are not as good as Singapore, but we are not bad as United States or Italy as well. We are somewhere in between. So I feel like let it taper. I understand there are something in terms of the degree, it is little critical, but let us have a big faith on Indian immunity and the virus variant. Yeah, because it is Mahesh, this is one person I will never be able to not tell. This is three, when I was in business and I said, sir, what are your words of wisdom? In 1996, when we started, and these are the 3 things which he told. And I thought like the whole thing, what I'm explaining to you today gets encompassed so beautiful in these 3 things. And I think that is a wisdom what I want you to live with today. He said, don't buy an asset. Renting makes a lot of sense than buying. Second, he said, don't lend nor borrow. By and large, I could do these 2. And the third and the important, the first one, which I meant to say, is something which I flaunted, and eventually he also flaunted. Don't marry. So he said all these 3, and you are successful, but I understand marry is an emotional quotient, and I'm sure, and I know that he had one of the loveliest matrimonial life, because it is there you pay the interest and love. It's only other two in money. So Mahesh sir, I think you made a right decision, though a little late. So there is a sense of urgency on time, and these are my closing remarks. I would just move in. I have another 10 minutes. I want to close a little earlier so that I could take in any questions if there are any. So make the best use of time. My recommendation is make a list of loans, deposit, policy, all your insurance, jewelry, asset, etc. Share it with your spouse. I know they may be little concerned looking into the figures, but I also wish and pray that it is jewelry asset which they will be happy about rather than your loans. Please also tell them what it is, where you have utilized, and why did you use them. Create a checklist of measures. Share it with your spouse on how we are going to manage accounts, because that's going to be critical of tomorrow. The other important thing about usage of time, the three things which I told you: the loans, the resources, the three dimensions, the receivables. Business tomorrow, depending on whether they are essential, aspirational, or inspirational, remember to remind your client, inform your client, and stay connected with your client. Please, please, please be aware of this sentence. Lockdown will be over faster than you think, even if extended. I know this extension happened in the evening, but just a forethought. I thought even if it is extended, mind you, just it ran away 2 weeks down the drain already. And the question is how much you utilized, how much productive it was. Even if it is not on finance and business, my humble recommendation is work on your 3 long pending promises or activities. It could be even a non-business one: your health, peace, spirituality, meditation, anything is good to go. But please work on that. You now have an additional 2 weeks coming, and even I would recommend let go of your Zoom calls, because you had enough and many. I'm sorry to tell, in spite of I could be one of the person who would get affected, but you can't just keep hearing and not doing anything. Be choosy about what you're going to hear and listen going forward. Not get into every data and not get into everything which is told on TV, because they talk about industry and economy and it is not about your business. And for business, you're the best judge. Your geography, your clientele, your staff, and your capital. Nothing is spoken on that. And that is something is of a primary importance. Rest are more on the frills of it. Now, all this is being spoken, all this is spoken. They tell this effect is going to be for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. People are not going to come. I'll tell you, all this is going to be spoken. I would feel at some time of tomorrow, 2 years, 6 months, or possibly less, or possibly more, 3 years, 4 years. All this what we spoke would be forgotten if these two things happen. One, if vaccine is found, or the vitality of virus is lost. But what we shouldn't forget, even after these two happening, is the lessons which we have learned from this lockdown. How do you manage your clientele? How do you manage your finance? Do you have a buffer? Do you manage the loans properly? Do you understand your accounts? Do you understand your customers? This, though I have brought it into the context of this particular lockdown, I think these what I told stay true for every day, even beyond this lockdown. So once this virus and the vitality is done, long forgotten, I think the lessons learned from this lockdown is going to be very critical. And I was studying quite a bit, and I feel all which are being told about travel, jewelry, infrastructure, real estate, healthcare, education is all about industry and not your business. So please understand there is a silver lining, and that silver lining is to your benefit. Be absolutely confident, have amazing faith, and faith with a logic of reality, remembering this particular tumbler is not half full or half empty, but it is for quenching your thirst. Let us gratefully pray for health, peace, prosperity of farmers, Because of all their hard work, which provided the nutrition, because we are going into Vishu, we are going to have our Tamil New Year, Chitrakani, and a lot of harvest festival, a industry which will never see recession. If it was only an agrarian society, we would be just talking about two things: our cold chain, logistics, and storage, and the job would have done. We would not have so much webinars, so many seminars. Please remember, thank these farmers for their untiring hard work and labor, which provided the nutrition for all of us and for our well-being. Thanks so much. People talk about this Himalayas from Jalandhar. As things pass by, in days of tomorrow, we start traveling, we start polluting, and I do not know whether the Himalayas would be seen, whether peacocks will be on the roads, whether animals could move freely. We would come and conquer them. But let us remember all the lessons what we learned. Let us understand, coexist. Let us go little back in time. Absolutely fine if you're not making so much of money. But let us become from being very competitive to be collaborative. Let us work on inclusiveness. Let us work on brotherhood. Let us work together as one larger entity and win over the world, where our creator will feel proud. Thank you, JJGs, and all the best. Keep rocking. Ramesh sir, over to you. I have 5 minutes.
Really, some miscalculation somewhere, I guess. You have plenty of time. Would you like to dwell on some point in some detail?
No, sir, I would take on questions. I thought that will be better. In case there are any.
Fine, we'll start with the questions. We'll take it as it goes. Panel,
Yes.
Also, please be ready for your questions. The first one is something of a universal question that confronts all of us. It says, is it legally compulsory to pay salaries for days when no work is done?
Yes, because you have given an appointment order, and 100% it is legal and it is compulsory to pay salary, unless until you have provided a notice.
Mm-hmm. Is jewelry aspirational or inspiration? And while you're answering this, another question is, what is the future of jewelry?
Okay.
As a business.
Jewelry is one very unique asset class, which can become anything, any category. But essentially, I would see it as it keeps moving between even essential to inspirational. If you need very need-based, possibly one ring which you exchange when you marry is essential. Possibly you have a one chain, possibly is aspirational. Possibly you have 10 necklaces, which is inspirational. So that is where it is. Having said that, India has been an economy where it is one wearable investment. No other investment is something where you can wear, enjoy it, and still stay invested. But I feel like this is going to change. People are going to move away from very fancy jewelry, things like that. They are moving a lot into a kind of artificial jewelry. So jewelry as an industry would get bifurcated into two. One into wearables, which will definitely shrink in size. It will be possibly my guesstimate over a 10-year horizon will just constitute 10% of the market, and possibly the 90% would get into investment, and investment not in terms of bullion. I think slowly we'll shift to e-gold.
Right. There's a point that you made, which goes contrary to Indian upbringing. You said, don't invest on assets, rent it out.
Yeah. So for many middle class, I have seen a house is the end of their independence. They spend the rest of their lives paying an EMI, and once the 20-year-old year EMI is done, they are down and battered. Nothing is left of them. Having said that, that's a very aspirational thing. If you have taken a loan and you make a 20-year, 240 months into the EMI what you have paid, and please look into the current valuation of that property. You will be very disappointed. You will be very, very disappointed. And people, if you have taken, say your housing loan is just 5-year-old, please ask for something which is called as a repayment schedule and find out how much of still your principal is pending. And I have a word of caution when you're going to see this repayment schedule for the first 5 years. Please be seated, else you will swoon and fall. That is a kind of the cost which gets into your house. On the contrary, on a financial aspect, if you're going to rent it out, which is going to be not more than, say, 10% of the cost of the EMI or 25% cost of the EMI, you get a huge saving. Housing is good, provided you have a lot of residual income.
Right. In the current context, what is the future of mutual funds?
Sir, I think globally, all of us are moving towards mutual funds, and I think that will be the norm of tomorrow.
Will real estate make a comeback in the near future?
I have been working with quite a few of them, and I understand from the real estate market across India, there is approximately 3 to 3.5 years of inventory available, which is too huge. Not more than 6 months is recommended for an industry like real estate, which is on a high capex. So I doubt whether it will come back. But having said that, there are a lot of new options which people do not explore, especially the real estate people, which is called as REITs, which is Real Estate Investment Trust, where you can monetize a real estate, you can invest in real estate. People think buying an apartment, which is a depreciating asset, mind you, you can go in for REIT, which also works on your say rental income, and you get a regular rental income. We have one REIT in India, just one of it, and it is listed. And interestingly, because you asked about mutual funds, and this was the next question, if you can just get into plotting these both in terms of the returns. Incidentally, just before the fall of real estate REIT was the fall of our index. So index, when it starts falling, you can switch to REIT temporarily and draw your money. You would have made some 10%, you would have buffered. So REITs are something very, very excellent. You have BlackRock, a lot of companies coming up, and I feel essentially that is a better way, purely on a financial sense. But if you tell like my house gives me a kind of a social comfort, then go ahead and buy. I'm not against it, but I want people to be aware about the cost in which it comes. It can't be a burden to you.
Essentially, real estate is now something which is something you aspire for, but it definitely is not something you invest in.
Well said, sir.
All right. Dilip, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you so much, Rameshji and Srinivasanji. Amazing session. It's always a treat listening to you. My question is, definitely, as you said, don't invest in asset. But now, if I have excess money, everything is volatile. You could say the constant thing is like volatile. Whichever aspect of investment we speak about in today's scenario, everything is having that volatility already into it. So which would be a high risk, high return type of investment which you would suggest, which would be a midterm or which is low risk? Like if you could just define all the three, if a person has excess money, so in which way they should go for? You got the question?
Yeah, I got it. I know, Dilip, you have quite a bit. The best way is to give it to me. I'll be very happy. You can share a bounty. But if you're not going to share it with me, then here is my answer. You told it right. This is a time of volatility. And I'll tell you, the biggest of profits are made in volatility, not in a very, very fixed market. So depending on your risk appetite, direct investment of stocks in case if you have a large understanding and time. See, it needs two dimensions. If you only have a big risk appetite and not a time appetite, I would ask you to stay away, go into mutual funds, go into large caps, because large caps are beaten down on a very, very high scale. And if you have a big duration, these small caps, because this is a current classification by SEBI, small, large and mid. And so I would recommend you to go for small caps. Now they are beaten down in spite of whatever spikes we had in past 2-3 days. The small caps have really not built up on in terms of the traction. Take on a 10-year haul, go for small caps, mid caps, or if you're looking into a medium term, I would feel go for a mixed cap, which would definitely support. So this is about in terms of your risk appetite, but still I would recommend you to invest quite a 30% at least on gold and silver as well. Silver you are not able to get on a e-platform, you need to physically hold, but I feel the price got really beaten down because of the industrial demand just evaporated, and you know it is very, very temporary. Already silver started picking up in terms of percentage terms. It has grown up substantially from 2,600. Yeah, it is somewhere around 3,300 percentage terms. It has grown up 30%. Gold is doing pretty well. It has already picked up momentum. So these two are things which you can't do away with. Fantastic time to invest in gold and silver. And still, if you have something left and you want a kind of a safety net, go into kind of a liquid funds, do some fixed deposits, bit on a staggered manner. So I would recommend these three for a very general public, mutual funds with a mixed bag depending on your risk appetite, substantial investment into gold and rest into FDs. So Dilip answered? Yeah, but I'm still expecting your answer. Ramesh sir, yes.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, Srini, the next question says, sir, did I hear you right? You said, did you say I should pay my home loans by liquidating my FD or from my savings?
I didn't talk both in correlation at any point of time, but I would also always ask, in case you have money, you liquidate all your loans, the last one being home loan. Home loan alone, you have a different variable wherein you have a kind of a tax benefit as well if you have a home loan running. And if you have around 1.5 lakhs of your EMI, the annualized EMI in terms of interest, the income tax treats it in two components. One is your principal repayment, one is your interest repayment. Both put together, if I will tell you a ballpark, approximately if you are paying around 3 lakhs, stay put, your repayment, your EMIs need to continue if you have less than say 3 to 4 lakhs kind of an EMI, annualized EMI. In case you have something more than that, the next thing how you need to analyze is you need to see what is your fixed deposit rate and what is the rate on which the home loan is there, and decide which is giving a better return and go for it.
After the reopening, which sector will the government spending be directed in?
I feel anything which can bring in lot of circulation. So technically there is something called as M1, M2, M3, which is what an RBI would very closely monitor, because these people, because last stimulus package, which was a monetary policy, which didn't do much. Now they will definitely do a fiscal policy. So I feel like they would definitely work on infrastructure. That would be the biggest, where there is already lot of money which has to be given and released. So if they're just going to even release that funds, it is going to be there. That is number one. Number two, in spite of so much being spoken about center, I also understand there is approximately 30,000 crores as a part of a GST contribution. See, the GST has a state component, there's a central component. That money is still not being released, so that money should be coming in. That would also add to the liquidity. Third, sector-wise, in case there is a physical development, even people are very interestingly talking about a delayed payment of GST, which will become a fund for you. So that also could happen. We have to wait and watch. Next 2-3 days is going to be very critical in terms of what government is planning to do.
From the perspective of being a recruiting company, what would be the state of job openings for freshers in the BFI sector in the days to come?
So BFI sector is a sector which grows, and even if you have seen the recent HUL chairman's talk on various parameters, he's talking from a very global perspective. I'm talking about local perspective. Both of us believe that you can't do away with people in terms of sales, interaction. It is not that tomorrow we are going to do away with people and jump into technology heads on. And in case the technology is going to come, it is also going through a learning curve of the cost. Once that learning curve comes and replaces, until then people are required. So entry-level people will be required, provided they come with necessary competence. They need to become industry relevant yesterday, more so today.
How does a manufacturer with hundreds of employees survive with a longer lockdown? How does he sustain costs and retain employees with literally no inflows?
There's already a thought paper circulated with the government. They are planning to release this particular lockdown for, say, manufacturing sector, because that is where your economy starts kicking in. That is where the money starts coming in. And already there is a thought paper of introducing 25% of the workforce. And one classic example yesterday, 3 days back, Ideyam Nallanai, one of the biggest brands of South India, the MD, Mr. Muthu, was on live, and he told oil is essential and our factory never closed down even for half an hour. So he said, I can't even talk about lockdown. We are doing on a full throttle. So I think this will come. So that is the silver lining. So I don't expect the industries to be kept closed. And the category of industry, right from heavy industries, cement, infrastructure, all government is thinking of releasing it at least 25%. So those are the people who are going to get a relief on a very immediate level. Having said that, when you have a huge number of workforce, this is somewhere where you are also going to sit and work out whether on the competency. This is somewhere you can really go to them and tell, like, boss, I'm in a problem. You decide how we are going to contribute. Are you going to make a meaning? Put it to them, sir, then decide. I'm going to do that. Every prudent businessman needs to do that.
Coron bhaiya, question from you? Go ahead.
1 minute. First of all, let me congratulate Srinivas. It was a wonderful session. I'm really thrilled.
Thank you, sir.
I would like, because I come from MSME sector. So MSME sector is going to have a big blow on the liquidity. What clear-cut 3-4 things do you recommend that MSME sector should be doing to keep the liquidity intact?
Sir, liquidity essentially is function of the money which you have still left. That is a major point where you need to approach now. So first, as I told, work into your bank balances. See whether we have assets which can be monetized. Number 2. 3, strictly work on your receivables. I think these 3 should be something, would be the first action plan what we need to work on. Even just cleaning up my house, I found past 1 week, there are a lot of things which I have, which I was planning to buy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Srinivasanji,
Yes,
my
sir.
question is that we save our money in 2 forms. Basically 2 forms. One is SIP, Systematic Investment Plan, and second is PPF. Now, whenever I compare, whenever the market, whenever there is a trouble, whenever there is some problem, like the Corona is a big problem, but whenever a small problem also comes, the market comes down, and SIP, the investment in SIP, it comes down. Whereas PPF always maintains it. So, how do you see PPF in compared to SIP?
Okay. So, is the ulterior question or the undercurrent is like, do I continue the SIP? If that is a question what you have, because it always gives a shock. No?
My question is, how do you compare PPF with SIP in compared to SIP?
Okay. Honestly, sir, that is an apple and this is an orange, not to be compared at all. SIP is supposed to behave in a total different way. If you know a little bit of technicality, it is called a rupee cost averaging. When something is very cheap, you buy more so that you keep the money averaged out. Now, when you want to really make a benefit, see, SIPs are for a very long period, 10-year period, 20-year period, or possibly something what you leave for generation, or which Warren Buffett very easily says, very beautifully says. I found two kind of investors make really big money. One who invested and forgot, or second who died. These two people make a lot of money. So that is the kind of a time which you should be ready. We have something, a very, very interesting element to SIPs, which now they call as super SIPs. When the market crashes, double your SIP. You will see a big magic happening. This is a recent phenomenon, a recent approach to the whole money-making exercise. You will be amazed by the returns it will give. But please continue your PPF, because still, though you have around 120 basis point reduction, it still continues to be one of the most safe, secured kind of fund which you can fall back at. Continue that. Vary the percentage, possibly if that has built a corpus, a substantial corpus, reduce your PPF and increase your SIPs. That needs to personally discussed, but this is what you need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big pleasure.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes, sir.
Chirag, are you there?
Sir, I just would like to ask you that industries, especially MSME segment, and where the credit period is very long in like cities like Surat or in South Gujarat, there are industries where credit period is up to 90 days and it goes up to 120 days also. So in that situation, how it will create impact on their liquidity and funds and everything post-Corona?
Sir, it is going to be very challenging, and all your energy should be to collect this. I will tell you, once it crosses, this is my larger understanding. If it crosses anything 60, 70, 80, it is because of unnecessary credit. And somewhere the whole organization now, incidentally, Bullion Association of Tamil Nadu had met up recently to tell, let us bring this to census. Let us not give this perpetual credit. This 120 days is actually a perpetual credit. Today, on this risky period, I will tell you, I'm sorry to tell, all your concentration is to be somehow get this money back, else it is going to go away. So I'm not going to talk about liquidity. I'm going to talk about preserving your capital. Please have a focus on it, sir. I think that should be a 24/7 exercise, because everyone are going to come ask for money. And I will tell you, very basic human psychology, the guy who bugs the most gets the most.
Manoj, go with.
Sriniji.
Yes, sir.
My Warren Buffett. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Srini, my housing loan tenure is for next 5 years. That is 60 months. So somehow I got money to close that one. But when I discuss with the bank, they are not giving me any kind of discounts. They are saying that whatever the money you are going to pay within 60 months, the same money you are going to pay right now.
Okay.
I'm not getting any advantage. So my question, instead of giving money to this bank, shall I keep this money in good shares or mutual funds? And from their systematic withdrawal plan, will it be good?
No. First and foremost, bank can't say that you have to pay 60 EMIs. There is two elements. One is called as pre-closure penalty and the charges towards it. Okay, only for this outstanding period, there are two components, principal and interest. The whole interest can't be charged in advance. So you need to find out whether what is going to be the payment, what is the charges they are going to ask, and what is the initial document you signed. Now, there is a lot of RBI directive telling that you can't ask a customer not to pay. All this prepayment penalty, pre-closure penalty, non-credit used penalties, all latest flavors, which you need to put your foot down and tell clearly. Second, in case still they ask that, switch the bank. They will agree. But this asking the second point, whether you want to give this into, take this money, put into SIPs, I would not recommend. And Manojji, you can, we can take it offline. I need to see your repayment schedule, see like what is the interest they are going to charge, what is the penalty clause available on your loan document. I can even come on a con call with your banker and tell him clearly like he can't do this to your consumer. We can go even to a ombudsman. And I will take a consultation charge. I will pass by, pick up a chai with you.
In terms of jalebi
If the panel has some fresh questions, I'd love to entertain them. From the audience, we've had all the questions that we could take. Nazar, please go ahead.
Almost on a regular basis, I keep asking Srinivasan a lot of questions.
I know. In fact, the last question was yesterday. So I think it's all exhausted.
Okay.
Anything on marketing, I ask. Anything on money, he asks. So
no, I just wanted to tell you something. You know, when you're saying that the liquidity is a crisis and all the assets can be liquidized right now, but that's a challenge now. You know, most of us is in the conventional way of investment. We all have it in the form of a land. So that at this point of time, converting that into a liquidity is a bigger challenge than that. So I'm sure most of the people in India, we know only to either invest in gold or land. So even this mutual fund, we still have a stigma that the stock market and it will die. So can you just throw some light on that to be...
Very true. When the question came up, I was talking about monetizing assets, and I was not talking about essentially real estate alone. Lot of things are there in our own company which we have not really looked at. Possibly machinery, possibly stock and trade, possibly if you do an ABC analysis, the slow moving stocks. These are things which you should definitely attack. And second, this working capital, is it fully deployed and is it deployed for a purpose? Then should come third, which is your real estate. That is something last you need to touch. Whenever we have done a kind of an analysis, say if Nazar, if I'm going to ask you a random question, how much do you think you are worth? And if you're going to give a figure X, this is what I have as a money. But if I ask you to sit down and write, what do you think? Will it be more or less?
It will be more.
It will be more. So generally, we are resource myopic by nature. So I think this is the time we need to put it on paper and be proud about what we have more. And that more can be utilized.
Let me just check if I have a fresh question from the audience.
I think it's their supper time, sir.
Yes, there is. In the meantime, Shelly, please ask your question.
Yes. Srini, congratulations on a wonderful session. And
you are going to ask me a question, sir?
I'm asking a question. Before, let me say one thing.
Yeah.
I'm thanking you for thanking farmers because I'm a farmer too.
Oh.
So now my question is very simple. We never went to bank for any finances till date. Never. So we are a debt-free company. Now I also feel there are going to be liquidity crunch. If I approach to my bank, although I have car loans, we never defaulted. We have very good sales. They are not coming forward to help us because we never went to bank before. So how do you think I should handle this challenge?
I'm surprised a person with your kind of a credit history and bank doesn't want to entertain. Then I think you should go to another bank. You should go for a new generation bank. Currently, new generation banks, there are schemes where they just give it based on your turnover, based on your day and balance. And there are a lot of variants available. And there are business loans. Even if, say, just off the cuff, if you go to Bajaj Finance website today, and you can see this product is available as of yesterday. A business loan without any security. Traditional bankers have a very different view, and I think it is a time we move. And for your kind of a person, I think the credit should come running. And today, because they want a choosy customer, and you would be the one, and it will be available at a cheaper price, and you would know all the calculations more than me, and you will pick up a best deal. I would in fact tell, like today when banks need a big liquidity, sir. Currently, see, the CRR has come down from 4 to 3%, which means 25% of more cash is available sitting as cash, giving bank a 0% return. They need a good customer, and you could be one, and at a good rate.
I have a good question
Thank
for
you.
the audience. The market has crashed, but for me as a long-term investor, is it okay to pump in all my savings, 60% to mutual funds and 40% to equity?
My definitely I need to know the age, how much he has invested, how long it is. I do not want to give you a wrong opinion, but a very generic idea is, if you have time, which is what I did tell to Dilip, and money is where you need to get into equities. Just money is not good for equities, because something happens and you are not available for a response. You are there in your business to take care or something like that. Please understand, do not extrapolate this holiday. This is an extended Sunday. This is not something what it will continue to be, and that is the time you need to very, very judiciously take a call. Please do not take based on the current circumstances. I would recommend, though it is going to be 2%, 3%. Someone from this industry yesterday was making a big, very sensible talk. He said, when the news reaches you, it is already consumed by the whole public, and you're the last person to hear. So something which you are going to take a call based on those, strict no, stay with mutual funds, possibly take to more, say, ambitious mutual funds, get into, say, something like small caps, which are totally beaten down, 80, 90%, and have a kind of an exit. Many people lose on mutual funds because they don't leave. Have a kind of a percentage where you want to exit. Currently at a 50% point, you should get going, convert to possibly a fixed deposit.
Srini, we've gone through a fascinating presentation from you.
Dilip had a question, Bhaiya.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dilip had one fresh question. Shani, I come from.
You're giving money?
The money is there, but now this question is a little different.
Okay. I was just thrilled for a moment. Sorry.
Answer. Thanks to JCI India, all the consultation we are getting free of cost here.
I know that. I'm also just thinking behind my mind, am I doing it correctly? just
keen
for
to close this session at 8:30. Quick question, please.
Yes. The question is, sir, paying salary and all on a humanitarian ground and all, absolutely, it's a moral responsibility of the business to do it. But there are so many businesses which are very, you say, people intensive. I mean, like the cost or the total expense cost, almost 80-85% is salary only. Most of the service industries and all. And with this lockdown, if God forbidden, if it extends for say 1 or 2 or 3 months, already 45 days what we are seeing in, there won't be any cash left with many of the companies to pay and recover from that. Now, I don't see any stimulus which has come from government also to support that. Point number one is that. So is there any way, one is definitely, as you said, it's a obligation from our side to pay. But the important part is there any way where actually we can have a systematic salary payment or some sort of a scheme available where we are able to pay that?
Okay. There is absolutely no system. It comes from your pocket. There is no free lunch. To make it very, very straight. But if that is going to be a larger concern, my recommendation is, like, if you want to downsize, this is the best time to keep them on a notice period, because it is a mutual thing, a mutual arrangement. Please keep them on a notice period and tell, like, let us go on a notice period and take a call. Second, in these things where there are so many variables, giving one size fits all answer is absolutely wrong to my conviction. So let us cross the bridge as it comes. But for time being, today, it should be a notice period served, and we'll take it as it goes.
Thank you once again, Srini.
Yes, sir.
Rajesh, please go ahead with your thanks.
Thank you, Ramesh sir. Thank you once again. I would like to thank Srinivasan sir for wonderful super duper session, Corona to Corona, for all of us. Hope we all are comes to know about its important role for us. Thank you, National President Anish sir, for your presence. Thank you, our mentor, Ravi Shankar sir, for your gracious presence. Thank you, our moderator, PNP Ramesh sir, for your guidance. Thank you, Rakesh sir, for your technical support. Thank you, Secretary General Benny sir, for your support. Thank you, my NGV friends, panelists, all leaders of JCI India, and my dear participants for making this session successful. I, in the capacity of National Director Business, invite you all tomorrow for closing ceremony of business webinar with our speaker, Rajiv Manar, with topic of recognizing trends for a market plan. Some special guests are coming tomorrow. JCI EVP assigned to India, JC Ravin Kajima from Japan, and JCI VP from India, JC Hardik Kapadia. I welcome you all for